Tonight on Countdown to Green, we recap all the action from Iowa. We get you prepared for tonight's race from the Music City. And we take a look at how you're racing at home. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
Hello and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. This is Countdown to Green and we are getting ready for the race ahead in Nashville. I'm your host Camille Salazar-Hadaway. Joining me as always, Alan Cabana and Blake McCandless. How are you two doing?
Oh, it's great to be here. Great to be headed to Nashville tonight. Look, the playoffs, they are quickly approaching, actually, but we're going to a track tonight where we don't have a ton of history, especially in this series, so any sort of unknown you can throw at these drivers, I enjoy that, Blake.
And I think you're exactly right. You know, we haven't been to this track for a very long time, although it does have a little bit of recent history. The last couple of years, we've seen this next-gen car kind of be debuted even in this series, but it hasn't been often that we've been competing for points here. But we did one time last year, and we had a heck of a race, so I think we're tuned in for about the same tonight.
So we're throwing the drivers a little bit of a curveball, but before we get into Nashville, it is important to look back at the last race, Iowa.
And yeah, Iowa was a very special one. Again, Alan, you kind of mentioned some unknowns going into some of these races. Well, this was a total unknown. This was a first time for this series in a points race coming out to Iowa. We had a heat race format, and it was crazy throughout the night.
Yeah, the heat races meant the main event was even shorter, so that meant these heat races were all the more important when it came to qualifying. So we saw some of that aggression. You've seen some of it already, but Steven Wilson, the hometown boy, the Iowa kid, was able to take Heat 1 and drive away with it. And we saw some domination in Heat 2 as well. But again, these little heat races, they really put up the pressure for your starting spot.
It certainly did. You saw a lot of drivers fighting really hard for those positions throughout the field, especially once we got into this second heat. The track started to widen out very early on in this one. And unfortunate here, we saw some hard racing up front between two of those teammates, and Colin Keister, Vicente Salas hurt their starting position for the feature race. But as you mentioned, Graham Bolin takes the win in that heat race and got the 10 points that came along with it. But then we moved forward to the feature race, and this track had totally gone through a shift, and we saw multi-groove racing 2, 3, sometimes 4 wide all throughout this track.
Yeah, seeing Wyatt Tinsley involved in a lot of these things, but getting the best of some of it. But at the front of the field, it came down to the two best in the heat races, Graham Bolin versus Steven Wilson. They were the best throughout the race, and then it really came down to a battle between those two, and dare I say, some bad blood toward the end of this.
Again, you can kind of see the margin was pretty large for Graham Bolin, who at once sported a pretty big lead over Steven Wilson, and the rest of the field was well on his way, it looked like, to going to victory lane. But we saw a little bit of chaos happening further back in the pack, ended up bringing out some cautions, including this vicious crash for Keegan Leahy, some of the 2311 cars, and we see it again. Iowa, you could consider it a short track, but Steven Wilson, a number of wins coming in, puts the bumper to the back of Graham Bolin, and it's enough to go to victory lane and get his 4th win of the campaign.
Unreal. And look, that's what it takes, right? That's what it takes to win championships, to win races. I think this is all fair when it comes to winning. He didn't take Graham Bolin out. He just touched him enough when he had the faster car to move the 48 out of the way and get himself in position to win. That's not dirty. That's skill. That's winning. That's why Steven Wilson is defending champion. That is why we call him a winner, because he's willing to make moves like that and get the lead and go on to the checkered flag. I think that's a fair move.
Well, you know, I think it's a fair move, too, if you want to win, but not if you necessarily want to win a championship. Yes, he gets the playoff points. He gets a little bit more of a cushion in the point standings. But if you're racing for a championship in these playoffs, we've seen this kind of happen a couple times with Steven Wilson this year. Got a little rough with Tucker Minter a couple races ago, now with Graham Bolin. The last thing you want to do in these playoffs is make enemies. Somebody who is going to race you hard, not pull over. If they have nothing something to lose because these drivers, Alan, they have a very long memory. So as much as Steven Wilson wanted to go to victory lane, he was able to enjoy it at his hometown racetrack. I think it hurts his championship hopes more than helps them with some of the enemies that he might be making out there as he continues his tear. And again, fourth win of the season, mentioned his heat win. It was 3 overall race wins that Steven Wilson has so far. And Alan, this is a little bit of a shift here. We keep talking about Wyatt Tinsley, Malik Ray, Dylan Duval, a couple drivers who have been close to the top 20 in points. Well, now they're up inside the top 20, so their win gets them into the postseason right now, and that shifts things up dramatically. Just 3 spots right now available on points, so you can see how close it is to try and get in with those points, Alan. I don't think you're going to be able to do it. You're going to have to win eventually.
Yeah, the team standings, a little trophy and money and pride on the line. William Byron Esports still up in front by 26 points, but now they're ahead of Williams Esports and M80. Those two teams moved up 2 spots apiece after last week. We saw what happened to Tony Kanaan Esports. Those drivers took themselves out during the race, not what you want to do in that heat race. And M80, look, Steven Wilson carrying that team all the way up to 3rd spot right now in the team standings. A lot of movement, 70-plus points per race. This can move back and forth. So plenty of time for those teams to still catch William Byron Esports, but a good matchup at the top.
All right, well, thank you for running us down what happened in Iowa. Now we're going to actually take a look back to a dominating performance from our 2015 season from Kenny Humpy.
During the 6th season of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, the winds of change were manifest. After both Tyler Hudson and Michael Conti defeated 2-time champ Ray Alfalla, would there be another challenger, or would Alfalla return for his crown? Alfalla seemed to return to championship form, taking the win at Daytona to open the season. However, another new face looked to spoil the party: Kenny Humpy. A 2-time winner in 2014, Humpy took the win in Vegas. Then he won in Fontana. Then a second at Texas, and then another win at Richmond. Humpy then hit a rough patch, only finishing 3rd at Pocono and only 4th at Charlotte. Then he won back-to-back at Dover, Michigan. 5 wins in the first 9 races was unheard of, even during Alfalla's 2-peat. Only Nick Ottinger had come close before, winning 4 races in the opening 9-race stretch of 2013. By race 10, the points lead was almost insurmountable. After Humpy finished 8th at Kentucky, Alfalla and Nick Ottinger tried to claw back what they could, with 3 wins to Ray and 2 to the Audi boss in the final 6 races. But it would be in Chicago where Humpy would finish 29th and seal the fate of the field, clinching the championship before even making the trip to Homestead. And that's one of the most dominating performances we've ever seen in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
And again, Kenny Humpy, Alan, thinking about the history of this series, there's a reason why he has the highest win percentage of any driver at 16%. A lot of it was this 5-win stretch that he had back in 2015. Kenny Humpy, not necessarily as long as a stay as we've seen out of some drivers, but was completely dominant. The reason why in 2015 he took home the title.
Yeah, if you think about it, the Cup Series, Matt Kenseth had a year like that way back when, and they changed the point system because of it. So Humpy, he's the kind of guy you change the point system for after a dominating season like that.
Props to our staff writer, Justin Mamillo, for the Vault segments. They're so good. But for now, you know what? We're going to check in with a driver in this year's series who is rounding out the top 10, Spire Motorsport, Malik Ray.
The 2024 season goal is to
it'd be to beat Jordy Lopez in points. When Jordy won his first race, like, I was screaming across voice chat because I was happy for him. I've just seen him like start from like the very bottom, like from where he was running like C-Fix and stuff like that. And now for him to like be in Coke and have like, you know, like have won a race and stuff, like I was really happy for him. I would say probably just trying to beat Jordy Like, he's always trying to motivate me because he's in the series and he's won now. And he always, like, you know, like, he'll, like, hold that over my head. He calls me, like, the second place merchant because I finished second, like, 3 times last year. And I just think it's funny. And it's really just him. Like, I just get motivated by him because before he was in the series, like, I didn't really practice at all. I was just here. And now that he's in it, I'm, like, practicing because, like, I'm always trying to beat him. So I'd say, like, it's probably just him. Like, we motivate each other. I joined a new team and I just started practicing. Like, I was just practicing like a bunch more for the races. I would be turning like 400 and 500 laps, and that just helped out a lot. I know, like, in the previous years, like, I would only turn like probably like 90 or 80 laps before a race, and I would try to rely on my natural skill, and then like I just had to like just understand that, like, you know, that's just not enough. Like, I need to like practice and put in effort and time if I want to be competitive. Okay, so my approach is that, like, I always try to find like Michael Guest because I know he's like a really good pusher, and he's been like my best friend on the game for like at least 7 or 8 years now. I just try to find someone that, like, I know, like, they have trust in me to do like whatever like I want to do. Like, if I tell him to go 4 wide, like, he's gonna go with me 4 wide. Like, he's not gonna back out and then leave me there or whatever. Like, he like genuinely like trusts me, and I just feel like that's like important. Like, if you're working with someone, because if the lead car, if he's trying to do something else and the guy behind's like, like, I don't know. Like, you both have to be like on the same page, because when you make your move, I mean, you have to have help, and if you don't have help, then it's, you know, like, it's just not gonna work. Winning the championship would mean everything because that's a lot of money, and I know what I would do with like the first like 30,000. I would buy a 5.0 Mustang.
You know, I like somebody that has some conviction and knows exactly what they're going to do with the money. Casey Kerwin, again, he's won that money before. He's looking to try to get back to it. But again, I like the conviction there from Malik Ray's. You can see his teammate Casey Kerwin. You can see the practice times on the left right now. Golly, we just came from Iowa. Stephen Wilson, Parker White were some of the fastest cars, and already looking to be good in qualifying trim.
Yeah, just trying to get all the laps that they can here. Here's Ray Alfalo. We're seeing there on the board. Not where this had not been a good year for Alfalo. So, I mean, again, any team, the way it works with these playoff systems, Blake, Camille, I mean, you can get in with a win as long as you're in the top 20 in points. But Ray Alfalo, one of the drivers, looking for a little speed. 36 down there on the chart. Only separated, look at that, first to 36, separated by 3/10. Just shows you how close this field can be, at least early on here in this practice session.
See Garrett kind of just sitting around, I guess, trying to get ready to go out. And again, this is a pretty crucial time for a lot of these drivers. The session opens up and they immediately want to go into qualifying trim. They want to get a sense of, okay, with this track, with the rubber that's laid on it, the weather, they've had a lot of time throughout the week to practice, but this is their opportunity here in the middle of this session, right before we go out, and it's for real. To try and go out and get the job done. As you can see him trying to warm up the tires before heading on out.
Well, hopefully they'll channel some of Malik's advice for the season. You know, focus on driving next to a driver that's going to push you to do better. But then we also know how that could sometimes end in danger. Right, Blake?
I think that is, that's definitely the case, and maybe why. You know, we've had segment 2. It has come and gone, but we got to get ready to, I mean, come on. You make some mistakes throughout the year. We got to get ready for my favorite segment. I think everybody's favorite segment here. Anybody know the name of it?
Really, dude?
Really,
you
dude?
think we wouldn't know the name of the segment?
All right.
Really, dude?
See, it didn't take long. And we have some examples. We're going to start back at Dover with Caden Honeycutt. Again, a lot of these are going to be just my picks screwing up. Just a heads up here. But we go into turn 3 and 4 at Dover. You're Caden Honeycutt. You're going after your first Coke Series win. Unfortunately, you just get a little too tight on the top side. Again, mad respect. You got to be able to make that move. But if you're going for your first Coke Series win, it would put him in the playoffs right now. But unfortunately, just could not get it to work. Stephen Wilson, of course, goes on to win that race at Dover. But come on, Caden, you let me down. Really, dude? I picked you. You got to be able to pull through like this. And all right, we move forward to Talladega. We're 4 and 5 wide throughout the pack. This race has been green up to this point. Then you have Caden Honeycutt gets a block thrown on him by Graham Bolin, and this sets off the spin cycle for the rest of this race. Again, it was crazy, 4 5 wide, side drafting, people making moves, going from the front to the back, and then the rest of the race gets spun on its head by just a bad block way further back in the pack. Again, we're not talking about battling for the win. We're talking about battling for 27. We got to do a little bit better than that, Graham. Really, dude? Come on. You got to know better than that. And this may be the really dude of all really dudes. This is lap 1. And again, lap 1 of 160 for 35th place. Dylan, you can't be doing that on the opening lap. Both you guys are in a terrible position now. This put Keegan Leahy out of the race. He obviously was very frustrated, deservingly so. Dylan Alt damaged his car. He was out of contention. I mean, come on. It is lap 1 of the longest race of the season. We got to be more focused than to just run in the back of somebody in the middle of the corner on the opening lap. But that's not the only driver whose lack of awareness we're going to be talking about tonight. This is off of turn 2 at Darlington. You can see a lot of smoke, some crashing ahead. But Daniel Falkingham, again, another one of my picks, sabotaging me. What are you doing here, Daniel? You have a mile and a half. Maybe not that much, but you've got some time to see this. You got a spotter that's in your ear. You can see the spin. You can see the smoke. But guess who just decides to not really slow down? I mean, he's got the Commander colors right there. They can barely get out of their own way. Daniel couldn't do it in his throwback scheme either. I had to wreck him a night later or so to pay for this. So come on, Daniel, really, dude, you got to be better than that. But also, we move forward to the number 1 cardinal sin rule of sim racing. You don't wreck your teammate. You don't wreck your teammate, especially in a heat race where there's no cautions, and you just ruined the starting spot for both you and Vicente looking to get a top 10 starting spot. Vicente's looking for yet another win. Colin's looking for his first one of the season. They're both having great seasons. You can't make mistakes like this. It'll set you back. So, Colin, really, dude, you cannot be running into your teammate like that. We just can't accept it.
No, you want to be close with your teammates, but you can't be that close, buddy. Really, dude? No. I always want to add a really dude in there. I feel like, Alan, we should just really do it sometimes.
Yeah, really, dude. Really, Blake, you made another bad pick when it comes to the picks.
I know.
Really, dude.
really, dude.
Come on.
See, that's not surprising.
At least you're consistent. But we'll talk more about picks a little later. For now, we saw him in practice. Casey Kerwin. Alan, you got a chance to catch up with him. What is he saying about the season?
Yeah, we heard from one Spire driver, Malik Ray. Let's hear from the other. We caught up with Casey Kerwin, the former champion, but he switched teams in the offseason to Spire Motorsports, so we asked him what it was like to make that move and how it came about.
Yeah, actually, so obviously had a great 3 years with XSET. And then, whenever free agency whatnot rolled around, Carson Hocevar actually was started streaming a bit and on Twitch, and we kind of connected through that beforehand, and then once it came around, he was pretty involved and going after drivers and whatnot, and it's always nice to be with a real life team, kind of have some correlation there with the real life guys and whatnot. So, and we've got to do some cool stuff with them, like at the shop and whatnot. So it's been a cool fit, and obviously Malik's gotten a win already. Hopefully I can get a win and try and have both cars in the playoffs here in a couple weeks.
That's pretty cool. We had Carson Hocevar at our championship live show last year, so that directly fed into maybe getting Casey on the team. And Casey mentioned his teammate Malik. I asked Casey what it is like being teammates with Malik Ray.
Yeah, it's been really good. Malik and I have worked together kind of on the back end, on the setup side, for a long time. So and finally, kind of with the way the Speedway package has been the past year or two, we've started working together. Even before we were teammates this year, we kind of started working together a bit more at the Superspeedway. So then once we became teammates, it just became even more of a reason. I think everyone saw it at Daytona and Atlanta. We were lined up together the whole time. So unfortunately, Talladega, my front bumper was gone on about lap 15, so we didn't get to work together too much there. But yeah, it's been great, obviously, at the Superspeedways, and he's obviously really good as well at the at all especially the mile and a halves and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been good. We've both kind of had some rough patches of bad luck. We were leading the team points for a while, so we're still in the hunt for it, and hopefully luck turns around and climb back up the team standings a bit.
Remember, the driver that dethroned Casey Kerwin as champion is Steven Wilson, and Steven Wilson looks like the car to beat once again. So I asked Casey, what's it going to take to beat Steven Wilson this year?
I mean, honestly, for us, I feel like just start closer. I mean, if I keep mentioning qualifying, but I mean, if you look through it and the people that know, like, kind of on the back end, like the Norse Force, the back end team he's with, I mean, a lot of times they're dang near locking out like the top 10 in qualifying. So they just, I mean, they start up front a lot. Just a lot more consistently, and obviously they're really good in the race too, but I feel like honestly we've been really close to them in race pace. I think we've had weeks where we're better, there's weeks where they're better. I feel like we're pretty equal in that regard. Again, I think we just have to come from the back a lot more than they do. And Steven's just been really good in qualifying. Like, even when they don't seem to have a ton of speed, he still puts it top 5 or near on pole. So yeah, honestly, I feel like if we could just start near him, we'd be pretty close, honestly. But obviously Steven's best in the series right now, on top of his game, so still wouldn't be easy by any means. But yeah, hopefully we can start near him a little more often. I think we could give him a run for their money a bit more often.
And the season's just flying by. So we asked Casey, what track is he looking forward to the most, and where can he probably maybe get that next win?
Well, historically for me is probably Pocono. And Pocono is my favorite track. I don't want to say I'm looking forward to having to go into that race needing a win, being it'd be the finale or the regular season finale. I'd like to hopefully be in a much better spot going into that race. But I also really love Indy. Indy was always one of my favorites too. We were in the oval, so I'm excited to go back there. Those two probably, I feel like, are probably my best chances. But then again, we've been really good at Nashville in the past, so yeah, probably Indy or Pocono. But I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm excited to go to Pocono if I don't have a win yet, or if we're close on points by chance to get a spot. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I can't really ask for much better tracks, honestly, to be trying to make the playoffs for the last 4 races here. So yeah, hopefully it all just works out, put ourselves in a good spot, and see if we make it.
Yeah, the champ, former champ, trying to be the champ once again. He's got some good tracks coming up, guys. If there's anybody that can do it, I would pick a former champ like Casey Kerwin to be able to do it. Doing it with a new team would be even better.
You know what, Alan, you're pretty good in picks, but like I said, we'll get that later on. I'm just rubbing it in Blake's face right now. For now, it is time for my favorite segment. It's the time for Logitech Show Us Your Rigs. This is where we get to see your rigs at home. And our first one is from Rob Shaw, Blake.
Yeah, this is again, there's so many great light setups, and this one is pretty fantastic here. You got enough space. You got the curved 3 monitors. You know, that's not something we always see, but something that I think I would prefer, especially when you're working with space like this. So Rob making efficient use of his space here. And Joseph, he looks like he's getting comfortable.
Talk about space. Is that a closet? Because closet racing a thing? It doesn't get much more basic. And look, that's all you need. That's why it's so awesome to be involved in iRacing and eNASCAR. You don't need much more than this. A folding chair. You know, cables a little bit everywhere. We want to see it a little bit nicer than that. You can improve on that, but you don't need much to go iRacing.
The headset on the doorknob's the best thing. This one's from Franco. What are you thinking here, Blake?
Well, you know, he's going to be able to race. I'm not really sure where a monitor is, but, you know, I like the ironing board. You know, there's a nice little flower design on it. You can do that, and maybe under caution you can iron out your shirts. So, yeah, effective. You don't even need a chair.
You don't need a chair. This next one is from Sam. Yeah. Sam has a pretty good setup.
Yeah, Sam is a trucker. And on the left, we have an actual driving seat, which we always love to see. And on the passenger side, he has installed a sim rig. Unbelievable. I think you can see a Lord Vader appearance. There's a new episode of The Acolyte. I got to go check out that one as well. But Sam, wherever you are in America, trucking it, baby. You can go iRacing. It's so good.
And our next one is from Tony. And Tony has a nice, sweet, simple setup, Blake.
Yeah, you even got you got the sequential shifter right there. That's kind of fitting to form. You got the new Logitech G wheel. Even my brother uses that exact wheel. I use a little bit more of an older version, the Driving Force GT, but it gets the job done just the same. But yeah, solid there, and looking to race at Daytona.
The last one here, Alan, take it away.
Yeah, look at. Sometimes you can convince your family to turn over the living room into an entire iRacing iRig setup. Is that a kitchen chair there? I mean, simple wheels, home television, everything you need. It's wrapped into one beautiful living room. I don't know how Dickie's family feels about all this, but you can go iRacing on a big screen. Why not?
Why not? And be sure to send us your rigs on all of the socials using the hashtag eNASCAR and tagging eNASCAR and iRacing, because we love to see your rigs right here on the show. Now, we also like to see drivers getting out there and enjoying some racing and meeting all of you fans. We have some eNASCAR stars that will be at races at the Chicago Navy Pier live stage. This is pretty cool, Blake and Alan.
Yeah, this is going to be an awesome event. Those 4 drivers, Busa, Maines, Minter, Ottinger, they will be live at Navy Pier for the race in 2 weeks. I'll be out there with them as we all prepare for the big Cup race and NASCAR weekend in Chicago. The first ones there will be the eNASCAR stars, and it's going to be a really huge event. It's going to be fun.
And again, they're coming a long ways. Nick from Claremont and Tucker from Charlotte going up there. So quite a distance to travel up there for Chicago, but tonight it is all about the Music City here in Lebanon, Tennessee's Nashville Superspeedway. 1 1/3 miles at this racetrack that is so tight, so technical. There's a very tight radius in these corners, so it's very difficult to get through. Jimmy Mullis, he's our only points winner here for a race that we've seen a number of times in All-Star competition.
All right, and with that, Alan, take us through.
Yeah, we haven't been
The
here a lot.
trends
I
that
mentioned that at the top of the show. It's only the 3rd eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series points race at this track. It made its debut actually in 2021 with the All-Star race, but still not a lot of history here. Both Nashville points races had different pole sitters. 2022 was Briar LaPrade, and then last year it was the Autoboss himself and Nick Ottinger. Only 2 drivers have won all of the events here at Nashville. Jimmy Mullis in 2021, and then the All-Star race in 23, and then Ray Alfalla, one of the champ, one of the goats of the sport, 2022, was able to get the victory here in Nashville, and including the 2021 All-Star race, all the drivers, Graham Boland has led the most laps at Nashville with just 59. I mean, that's not a ton. So, been a lot of different leaders out here, but Graham Boland's certainly looking for the checkered flag tonight. And no driver has ever won at Nashville Superspeedway and then gone on to win the season's championship. But I'm sure someone would love to break that trend by sealing their playoff spot tonight and then going on and getting a championship. So you never know. Sometimes you want to buck the trend.
Yeah. Yes, and, let's see if Blake is going to be able to kind of
Ooh, look at those points.
buck the trend here with his picks. But he is catching up, so I feel like I should stop talking a lot of smack to him. Blake, tell us who your pick is for tonight's race.
Well, I think we get the ship righted. It was a KHI driver last year, Jimmy Mullis, that went to victory lane. I'm going with the other KHI driver tonight. I think Matt Busa, 62 car, gets it done. This is a great track for him. It was for Jimmy Mullis last year, but I got Matt tonight.
The good pick, but, look, I got
really,
here
dude?
by
Wow.
I picked really, dude.
Okay.
Steven Wilson wins again. How do you think I got the points lead? Because I picked the best driver, the former champion. He's going to do it again tonight, Camille.
You know what? I'm trying to do things a little bit differently. We'll see if it bites me a bit. But I'm going with, you talked about him in trends, and I'm going with Ottinger. I believe in the Ott. I believe in the Ott.
We'll see. Three different picks tonight. I like it.
And it looks like that Bobby Z is the pole sitter right now. So we're going to have to see how this pans out as we head into Nashville. From us here at Countdown to Green, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stick around at the end of these commercials because that's when the race starts. So go grab a drink and sit down and enjoy Nashville.
Before we start our engines,
and you all the veterans and those that are serving today,
before the green flag flies,
get to do what we love because of the sacrifices that were made by our military heroes.
we stop, we listen, we look to the skies. The awe-inspiring roar and thunder. To all those near and far, home and abroad, we thank you, and we salute you with a little noise of our own.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, You buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition. Make it your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
This is the make or break moment.
Oh my goodness!
Not just for the day, but for the years to come. This is where a race isn't just about the race. It's about the doors it can open.
That kid is amazing.
The number of fans wearing your number. This is the chance to carve your name into the history books. This is the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
I believe in something that I can't explain. The wind is calling out my name. Let it rain on me. You know I put in the hours, and I'm not gonna wait in line. I'm gonna take what's mine for the world to see. You gotta take the lead. You gotta feel the fire. So I see, and I still believe. You gotta take the lead, take the lead, take the lead, take the lead.
500,000 heads to the Music City. For iRacing's virtual Nashville Superspeedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 11 of the 2024 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And as always, happy that you're spending your Tuesday night with us here on iRacing Live. Alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, as always, with Blake McCandless in the broadcast booth. And Blake, 4 races to go already in the regular season. Feels like we were just talking about how we're getting to the mid-season and going to some new tracks, seeing some new winners. And as you guys have been discussing in Countdown to Green, we're getting down to crunch time. The playoffs are not that far away.
And again, there's only so many spots that are left up for grabs, and so many more depending on the nights that Malik Ray, that a couple of these drivers have, who have a win and are barely holding on to a top 20 starting spot. The complexion of the playoffs can completely change depending on what happens tonight and through the remaining 3 races. So 4 races left. Sounds like it's not a lot of time, but so much can happen to try and shake up this playoff field and the drivers who may get a shot to return to this series in 1 year's time.
There's a whole lot of storylines that we're going to be following through the end of this regular season, of course, into the playoffs as we look to close out the season. But let's go trackside and take a look at your starting grid, and it is Bobby Zelensky in the Joe Gibbs Racing number 18, who is on a pole tonight. He'll be joined by the Kadani Sports number 11 of Vicente Salas.
Row number 2, the William Byron Esports 97 of Tucker Minter, and the Oxygen Esports 22 of Femi Olatunbosin. Inside row 3, your most winning driver this season, it is the M80 number 10 of Stephen Wilson, and to his outside, it's the 8 for Junior Motorsports of Caden Honeycutt. We have yet to see a rookie go to victory lane this year. Seth the Merchant, the highest starter of them tonight, the FPRXL eRacing 14. On the inside of row number 4, to the outside, it is the Front Row Motorsports 34 of Derek Bordeaux. And to round out your top 10, on row 5, the Spire Motorsports 77 of Casey Kerwin, going to be joined by the BS Competition number 90 of Jordy Lopez.
Parker White, a driver who has been so close to winning this year, goes 11th for Williams Esports along with Malik Ray. Had a win at Atlanta, but needs to stay top 20 in points for Spire Motorsports to hold on to a playoff spot. Garrett Lowe, courtesy of his win at Charlotte, will go from 13th for BS Plus competition. The other Junior Motorsports entry in Briar LaPrade will start 14th tonight on the outside of row number 7. Zach Novak for Oxygen Esports, the former series champ, goes from 15th tonight. Donovan Strauss will start in 16th, just 5 positions behind his Williams Esports teammate. Then it's Michael Koji Jr. from the 17th spot for Front Row Motorsports. Wyatt Tinsley, your Daytona winner for the Kansas City Pioneers in 18th. And then also 2 former series champions make up row 10, and Ryan Luza for M80 and Nick Ottinger for William Byron's Esports.
That brings us halfway home. Row number 11, it'll be the Joe Gibbs Racing 54 of Daniel Falkenham and the Kevin Harvick Incorporated 62 of Matt Busa. Row number 12, inside to the 2311 Racing number 45 of Michael Guest, and to the outside it is Graham Boland in the number 48 car for Quick Trip Pioneers Gaming. Lucky row 13, the Kevin Harvick Inc. 29 of Jimmy Mullis, and the Latardi Sports number 40 of Dylan Alt. Row number 14, it is Jonathan Delaney in the number 3 for Team Dillon Sports, and the Tony Kadon entry, the 66 of Colin Keister. And through the top 30, Taylor Hurst in the Team Dillon Sports 33 on the inside, and to the outside, it's 4-time the E-Racer 69 of Ray Alfala.
Dylan Duval going to have to gain a couple of spots for Nitro Circus from the 31st spot, with Keegan Leahy, another former series champ, from 32nd for 2311. Ryan Doucette will start 33rd tonight for the Pittsburgh Knights. 34th will be FGR Excel's Garrett Maines in the number 12 car. Tyler Gary for E-Racer starts 35th. Kwame Scott for Latardi Sports will go from 36th in the number 36 car. Then it's back to Matthew Zwack for 37th for Nitro Circus, as well as Cody Bias from 38th. 39th starter tonight will be Timmy Holmes and Colin Bowden, both of the RFK entries, making up row number 20 here at Nashville Superspeedway, as I believe we have Bobby Zielinski on tap as we look through the 40-car starting field. We'll have a quick word from your pole sitter for Joe Gibbs Racing in Bobby Zielinski. And Bobby, this is a track where being able to start up front is so important. But now that you have this position, how do you see this race playing out for yourself tonight?
Yeah, first off, we need to keep the lead here. The outside on like a green flag starts the race is, I'd say, a little bit better. So try to stay ahead of Vicente at the end of lap 1, and then just try to keep track position. I've been really good in qualifying for practice this week. It has paid off, but race is a little shaky. So I don't know what to expect. I'm going to just try to hold the lead as long as I can, and hopefully we're there on the last lap.
How do you see the strategy tonight, guys getting aggressive with 100 laps?
Same old, man. Like, everyone's going to be aggressive. Like, most field's going to take 2 tires, first chance to get, you know. That's kind of the meta right now. But, yeah, I'm just glad to be starting first. Got to thank everyone at El Tanda, Joe Gibbs Racing, especially the fireman, Seth the Merchant, who did a lot of good work last night. And I got this thing on the pole.
All right. Bobby Zielinski going to try to be all over him like a cheap suit tonight. He'll start from P1 at Nashville.
Of course, Bobby's been to victory lane already this year. A race win on the road course at Brands Hatch. First pole for the driver of the 18 in 2024. So back racing again here at Nashville Superspeedway. 3rd points race in series history. Of course, we've been here 3 times already if you count when in 2021 we went all-star racing here. That one was won by Jimmy Mullis, notably, race winner as well, and a controversial finish a year ago with Lowe. Ray Alfala, the only other Nashville winner to slide into that. He took home the checkered flag here in 2022. Well, as always, happy that you're spending your Tuesday evenings with us here on iRacing Live and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Pace car down and in. Field in the hands of the number 18 Toyota of Bobby Zalenski as we say, let's go racing at Nashville. Dead heat off of the line, but on the outside of turn number 2, Vicente Salas takes over the race lead early.
And very early on, you could see, I believe it's the 51 of Donovan Strauss, who went all the way to the top side 3 wide. Don't think that lane is necessarily going to be in play. If it is, it's going to be hard to get on these opening couple of laps. But as Bobby mentioned in his interview just before we got started, it's going to be difficult for either lane, at least early on in this race, to try and get the advantage. He had control of that start, but yet is still locked side by side with Vicente. And right now, that's pretty much the case throughout the field. The bottom and the middle lane, or I guess you could call it the top, as these drivers are running right now, dead even and looking for one of these lanes to prevail and get an advantage.
It's a good on-board look with Donovan Strauss. You can see they're just about as jammed up as they were coming to the initial green flag. And that time at the stripe, Salas gets his first lap led on the afternoon after Zalenski was able to get it at the stripe after the first 1.33 miles of this race. But they are side by side and 2 by 2 throughout the field. Look at the 8 car looking to the inside. That was Honeycutt searching from the number 5 spot.
And again, this is one of those tracks you're going to have to take just any little bit of space that you can try and get. Again, these cars, they're pretty wide. The racing groove, there's not a ton of space to try and make those moves. So any little run that you can get, you pretty much have to go for it. You have to be able to take advantage of it. And you know what? Shout out to Caden Honeycutt. We weren't sure if he was going to make it back in time. He was testing his late model stock for the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 at South Boston this week. He was testing there today. He drove all the way back to Morrisville, wasn't sure if he was even going to make it for qualifying. Not only does he make it back, he starts in the top 10. So an incredible job there. He hardly had any practice. He gets out of late model stock at South Boston, which probably doesn't drive anything like a next gen at Nashville. Hops in, has a top 5 starting spot. And again, mentioned how important this race is. Just 4 races left, and he is just on the outside looking in when it comes to the postseason.
And on the outside looking into this battle, seems like he really wants to get up there alongside the 97 of Minter, but just hasn't been able to do anything in that filter time Chevy so far. He stays in P5. On the front row, the battle of race winners continues. I mentioned Bobby Zalenski's been a race winner already this year at Brands Hatch. Well, Vicente Salas, race winner from just a couple of weeks ago at the Darlington Raceway. So these are 2 drivers with wins. Still fighting aggressively. Of course, a little bit more on the line when you talk about the likes of Inter and Olant and Bosa behind without race wins so far in 2024. But 6 laps going to be in the books this time by in this 100-lap sprint. Just about a mile, or I should say an hour, outside of downtown Nashville and Lebanon, Tennessee. But there is no separation early on. Here's a good look with Lopez and Bordeaux in the top 10.
Mentioned a lot of drivers. You can look at the top 10 and see a lot of the same names kind of reoccurring, but look at Olat and Boson. Look at Derek Bordeaux, who was really close to winning a race earlier this year at Las Vegas. A couple of names kind of mixing things up here at the top 10, especially Femi. He has had just a bad start to the year in terms of luck, and has really started to turn, or just kind of started to turn in the right direction. Wouldn't say he's turned it around, but a win here tonight. He's 27th in the standings coming in, but a win would completely change the outlook of his season. He was sitting back in the 30s at one point early on in the season, and a win right here could do so much for him, and already riding in the 3rd position. And he looks to have a really fast car here for the opening couple of laps.
He's looking for a win and some help. Remember, needed to be top 20 of the points. Femi comes into tonight 27th. But it is worth noting, he's just 1 spot ahead of Keegan Leahy, a race winner from earlier this year. But again, Keegan also needing to find his way into the top 20. So another driver with a win would be an even further obstacle if you're the Leahy camp, as we're going to go 3 wide for the race lead. Zalenski a little bit slow that time off at 2. The bottom opens up. Tucker Minter is going to go to the inside. And we are 3 wide for the race lead in turn 4. Maybe a touch between the cars on the bottom, but Salas clears for P1.
that is easier said than done here at this racetrack, Ian. There's hardly room. You can make it work in the corner, but just the way the racing groove really narrows up here on the exit of the corner, it really will stick out there and bite you if you're not careful. You can even see it right there as Minter and Lawton Boson kind of got in line, just how the racing groove narrows up off of 2 and especially off of turn 4. It can be really, really difficult. So lucky to see that all work out. And now Honeycutt, who looked to be making some hay there on the bottom right now, is kind of trapped down there. Everybody's starting to migrate a little bit higher up the racetrack. And Honeycutt, at least for the moment, kind of trapped on the bottom. And, you know, you wouldn't think of a track that Nashville, you kind of need to be in the draft, but you can see on the straightaways that Honeycutt going to lose another position. That backstretch, if you're kind of the lone car down there on the bottom, it's difficult to keep up. You need to have at least somebody in line with you to give you that push. And right now, Honeycutt just doesn't have it, but he can finally get up, at least for the moment, in front of Bordeaux, or so we thought.
Caution somewhere behind the leaders. Everybody else okay, and there is a slow number 12 of Garrett Maines, who was scored in the 40th position as of this lap, but 27th the last time by. So my deductive reasoning would say something happened with the 12 car of Garrett Maines. We'll wind it back and take a second look at a moment, as it is an early opening yellow flag.
This is a really interesting spot in this race to have a caution. Usually we get kind of to the third or the half distance mark in this race, and it's kind of when you're looking at pit stops coming with the limited tires that these drivers have here tonight. I would be shocked if those drivers, I did not think that they were going to work their way into the pits after just 11 laps, but he just about missed the commitment line there. That was close.
Yeah, worth noting, I think there's a white line on the racetrack, in which by Cup Series rules, that might have been a little bit too late to make that decision. But in the sim, you have all the way until the actual pit road commitment line and cone where pit road speed starts and pit lane technically begins to make that decision. So, bit of a late change of mind for Vicente Salas. All of your race leaders will stay out, and now we'll take a second look at what happened with Maines.
Getting in the corner, you can see Jimmy Mullis right behind him and just to the bottom of him, and I think Maines didn't expect it. You know, let's get another look at it right here. So you can see Mullis carries a lot of speed into the corner. Maines running just about half a lane up. Mullis thinks he's committed to the top, and by the time that Mullis kind of charges it in there, Maines cuts down. Don't think the damage is going to be too bad. He'll definitely have some, but may still be enough that he'll be able to compete and perhaps be okay with, but didn't work out there for Garrett Maines.
And Maines, I think the only car with damage in that incident. He did come down to pit road, but he didn't spend any extra time in the stall. It was just a 4-tire pit stop in and out for him. Bowden, Leahy, Keister, Zawak, Hurst, Bias, and Busa, the cars that pit, they're all towards the rear and under the yellow. Now an opportunity, Blake, to take a look at our eNASCAR race analysis for today.
Yeah, and this is kind of why I wasn't going to think that anybody was going to pit. Again, just 2 sets available. We know that tires haven't necessarily been all too important. We've seen a lot of 2-tire calls becoming much more popular throughout the year. But the fact that you only have 2 sets available, certain that you wouldn't use them this early on in the race. And again, with these next-gen cars, larger fuel cell than what we've had here in the past, you know, this... you can go quite a distance here. It's 1 1/3 miles. You're off throttle for quite a bit of time. So the fuel window and the implementation of strategy can be quite something here, because you could go well past the halfway mark on fuel.
We're talking about how excited it is getting down to the end of the regular season here in 2024. I want to remind you, if you want all the latest news and updates from the world of eNASCAR, then you can sign up today by scanning the QR code on your screen now. In the bottom right-hand corner, stay in the know with iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. And, of course, as this championship continues through to the end of the regular season and off and into the playoffs, you're going to want to make sure you're joining us. No off week between now and the next time around. We'll be back next Tuesday night for the only street race of the year on the streets of Chicago for round number 12. But meanwhile, still a lot of racing to go here tonight in Nashville. The control car is going to be the 11 Salas on the bottom. He gets the jump. We're back underway.
And unlike that initial start, it's not the flagman who starts the race back up. It's the leader, and you can see that Vicente Salas puts that to good use. It's why that lead was so important as we go throughout this race, having control of these restarts is going to be so important, because you're going to hope that they're going to race like this further back in the field as Derek Bordeaux gets turned on the apron. So far, so good. Again, these are iRacing thrown cautions. They're underneath the racing surface, and right now, looks like we're going to stay green.
You saw Bordeaux and the Love's RV stop forward all the way around, but it was off of the racing surface. That car has now cleared. It is rolling, so no caution, and we stay green. Also benefiting from the restart procedures was the 97 to Tucker Minter. He followed Vicente Salas through with his great jump. He was able to pass the 18 to Zelensky. Minter now at a race high P2. And now we'll see, what can Bobby, what can Steven do with a little bit of traffic to work on as they sit in third and fourth. And does Tucker Minter have something to say about Vicente Salas? The 11 car has led 15 of the laps so far complete.
Again, a number of drivers kind of had to dodge that wreck and lost a substantial amount of time. Derek Bordeaux clearly gets the worst end of it, but Malik Ray, Casey Kerwin, Ryan Doucette, a number of names that were involved in that one and lost a ton of positions out of that one. As you'll see the replay on the bottom, look around that 34 car. This is kind of where all of that starts. 3 wide, squeezes up into Honeycutt and the Williams Esports 51 of Strauss. And I think that's just a case there, Evan. I don't believe that Bordeaux knew that they were 3 wide. And unfortunately for Honeycutt and for the 51 of Strauss, they couldn't go any higher. So Bordeaux kind of forces the issue there, gets out of shape, and unfortunately for him, spins off the racing surface and will keep us under green. So tough going right there, but that's how tight that this track can get off of turn 2, 3 wide, something that's really difficult to pull off here.
It was also double bad for the Spire cars because both Kerwin and Ray went down and were on the apron and had to gather things back up. So those cars fall to 38th and 39th. Those are only higher than Bordeaux, who went all the way around in P40. So both Spire cars collected in that accident. Again, 3 cars total, but none of it happened up on the racing surface once they spun down. So we stayed green, and they're going to have a lot of work to do to bounce back in this relatively short race. This restart, though, again, completely different to what we saw on the initial start of the race. Because Vicente was the control car, could jump it a little bit. At this point off of the green, Blake, we were still 2 by 2, basically restart order. Now it's single file inside of the top 10.
See this accident one more time. Bottom of your screen, this is the onboard of Malik Ray, the number 7, which again, he came into this race just a couple of points. In fact, 2 points above the cut line, the 20th place cut line that would make his win eligible. He goes down here. He tries to avoid everything. He actually ends up tagging a piece of his teammate as he's trying to avoid everything. And then I'm sure at this point, you see all the carnage going on. You're probably thinking, okay, well, let me just not avoid, or let me avoid everything going on around me. You don't think about the fact that we might stay green. But unfortunately for Ray, he gets back on the track, no caution thrown, and now he's going to have to think of other ways to try and get back in this race and hope that another yellow will come to his rescue here.
Yeah, that, with him in theory and the live points dropping outside of a top 20 spot with where he's running, would open up an additional spot in the playoff standings to a driver on points. That's that kind of ultra dynamic playoff bubble that we're going to be talking about over the course of the next 4 weeks. On the inside, single filing things out a little bit. Lap traffic goes by top.
Yeah, Bordeaux, that's a ton of damage, and just hoping and pleading that a caution comes out. I believe that puts him 2 laps behind the race leader at this point, so it's going to be tough to come back from. It looks like that is a substantial amount of damage that he's not going to be able to recover from.
Tucker Minter's doing a good job of trying to challenge for the race lead. He's P2. Let's jump on board. It's the Logitech G onboard camera. Well, in-season tournaments and bracket challenges are all the talk these days, and it is coming to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series with the William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge presented by Logitech. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where the top 32 drivers in the series standings will be paired up based on championship point standings, entered into a bracket, and race head-to-head as we go into next week's race at Chicago. The bracket challenge will go for 5 races in length. It'll start at Chicago on July the 2nd and ending at Texas Motor Speedway on August the 27th. You can go to williambyron.com or scan the QR code on your screen now to get details on how to enter and ultimately how to win and what you win. It's important that contest entries will start being accepted later this week on June 27th, and they will be accepted up to the green flag on the streets of Chicago on July the 2nd. Again, that's williambyron.com. For more information, make sure you jump on in to the William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge presented by Logitech. G and Blake, since I don't have the honor of kind of putting my takes out there on Countdown to Green picks every week, I'll do a bracket so I can join in on some of y'all and embarrass myself.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to this opportunity because I hope the William Byron Bracket Challenge goes a lot better than my Denny Hamlin Bracket Challenge.
Not good.
That was pretty much down and out after Gateway on the Cup Series side of things, so looking forward to the opportunity. And again, I know the Cup Series can be pretty unpredictable from race to race, but getting it right in the Coke Series, I think, is about twice as hard because you look in the midfield, drivers are changing positions all the time in this series, and these races truly aren't over until the end. So this ought to be a lot of fun. I just hope it goes better than my Countdown to Green picks as well. So looking forward to the opportunity to start anew.
If it goes good for me, I'll make sure to bring it up. If it doesn't, you'll hear me not mention it at all over the course of the
that's
next
pretty much
couple
the
rounds.
Camille strategy.
We'll see how that plays out. Again, make sure you join in on the fun for next week. It'll all kick off for the streets of Chicago. Meanwhile, jumping back inside of the top 10, this battle for P5 is ongoing. Femi Alonso-Bosin has slid back a touch, but about Parker White up 5 spots and Michael Cozy Jr. up 10. Those two cars have been on the move, and right now they're going to go side by side for P6. White got squeezed out a little bit there. A lot of pressure from Cozy topside. Got that 53 out of shape, and Cozy takes it.
Yeah, and Cozy takes a breath, and you can tell from his perspective, if he's going to dive in the middle right there and take that much air off the car on the inside, you're kind of at their mercy in a way. So if you are going to make that pass and you're going to hold them tight, sometimes that can just push that car. Again, iRacing has these physics so close that if you run right down on the door of that car on the inside, that takes away their downforce, their side force. That pushes them up into you. So he had a lot of trust there that either Parker was going to let him by or that Parker had a car that wasn't going to push up when it lost all that side force to be able to make that move. But also, that's kind of how tight you have to run these guys if you want to make that move in the middle. Now, remember, keep in mind that this is kind of the same strategy that Cozy had a week ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I should say, at Iowa. He was awfully aggressive at the beginning of the race, got up into the top 5. That did not end up working out for him. He ran his tires way off and was not a factor late in that race.
And if you're enjoying the on-track stuff and think that this is something that you can do one day, you can go to iRacing.com for more information on how to start your iRacing career today. With iRacing, every day is race stable, and we're talking the pros only. You can stay up to date with everything eNASCAR, the series schedule, standings, teams, and more. All of that information can be found at iRacing.com/eNASCAR. Make sure you bookmark that so you've got everything at your fingertips as we get closer to crowning the champion in this 15th anniversary season of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Largest prize package in series history, more than $500,000 on the line. Of course, $100 grand will go to our eventual series champion. That is the stakes that all these drivers are competing for. As you see Caden Honeycutt, who slipped back a little bit, Blake holding off for the moment, the 14 of Seth Emergent.
And trying to hold somebody else off is your race leader in Vicente Salas. Minter has looked awfully strong these last couple of laps, and you can see Salas having to react to that, trying to get out of the draft, do everything he can right now to keep Minter behind him as Salas is committed to the bottom. Minter has been more willing to go up kind of where that second lane is. Again, you can kind of see visually the seams here at this racetrack as we go down into the corner. You can see kind of the orange-looking lines or so where these seams are separated. It seems like you don't want to run on that. You kind of want to pick a lane on entry and run throughout is what most of these drivers have been doing. But we know Tucker Minter, saw a social video he put out earlier of how to get around this track, and he took some of his own notes here. He has been very fast all season after a tough start to the first couple of races, but that win has still eluded him. It's tough to think that it's been tough for him despite the fact that he's had a complete turnaround and that he's one of the best drivers in the standings. He's P7 in overall points right now, still not good enough to make the postseason, at least for the moment. You can take a look at the right-hand side of your screen. Salas winning wouldn't change anything amongst your leaders, but the fact that we've seen some other drivers shifting around that cut line started to change things up. And again, surprise Malik Ray, 38th right now. Apparently his win still keeps him in the postseason, so he's fortunate right now to have some other drivers that have some bad luck.
Yeah, that could be a big asterisk, right? So that 70 car could drop out. That would move the 97 to Minter in. Of course, if Keegan Leahy, 37th on track right now, can gain some spots, though, that could move a driver on points out and below that red cut line. So even though the 97 has got a real shot of pointing his way into the playoffs with the way those playoff points look, Tucker Minter could make his life a whole lot easier if he could get a race win in the next 4 weeks, and he's in a great position to do so tonight. He's been running up front for a lot of this one. Still P2, about a quarter second behind Vicente Salas, who has been dominant for most of it. Up front, things have really started to spread out. Midfield, there is still plenty of battling going on. You're watching the 88 of Brian LaPrade fight with that 12 of Garrett Maines. Garrett Maines is one of the biggest movers in the field at plus 16 spots. That's only bested by the 27 that Colin Bowden has passed.
And I got to say, too, that Garrett Maines, we mentioned the fact that he was in that first caution. He started the tail end of this restart. He has done a tremendous job getting up to 18th. I mean, I know we had an incident that kind of put about 4 or 5 drivers behind him. So, yeah, maybe you get 4 or 5 spots. But the fact that Maines, you could see him on the pylon in 18th. Now he's up to the 17th spot. He was kind of forced, I think, to take a little bit of a different strategy. Came down, tried to fix some of the damage, got some tires, and it's actually working out for him. So we'll have to see how this continues to play out, but making the best of a bad situation right now is Garrett Maines. Is Bordeaux still that slow car? That is going to be a factor, I think, at some point with somebody exiting. They're going to run into that 34 car because he is well off the pace. But right now, Bobby Z trying to hold on over Wilson, and then Michael Cozy Jr. Golly, you can see just how close he gets to the right rear quarter panel of Steven Wilson. Cozy has been willing to run up top, and he has been making it work so far. It's paying dividends for him, and he's hoping that these two in front of him could sort it out so he could try to get up into the top 3.
And it's worth noting as we watch this battle for 3rd and the battle for 11th spot that the lead car on that strategy of those who pitted on the first yellow, that's Bowden. He's running in 12th right now at the moment. Then it's Colin Keister. Then it's Garrett Maines. So just kind of keep an eye on those cars. They're about 11th, 15th, and 17th on track at the moment. Not enough to storm all the way to the front, but certainly enough to have been able to make a lot of passes on this green flag run. As for a moment, Bobby Zelensky breathes a slight sigh of relief, leaving the fighting behind him. It's going to be the 38 car of Cozy and the 10 of Wilson fighting. That 10 can't really hang on bottom, though, and the 38 of Cozy is going to get clear, and now here comes Parker White up the outside.
Also of note, we had an incident with Kwame Scott and Timmy Holmes further back in the pack. You can see that Scott, for the moment, has lost a lap. Again, another incident that was not on the racing surface. So we stay green at the moment as Wilson now starting to struggle a little bit. And how about up to P9, started back on row 20. How about it? Colin Bowden up into the top 10. What a great run that he's had. And I think kind of employing the same thing that we saw a little bit earlier out of Garrett Maines. He came down, he pit, he got a couple of tires. In fact, he only had a 4.5 second pit stop. But whatever Bowden has done, he is doing a tremendous job right now making up some spots. Again, row 20 up to the top 10 and 43 laps in this series. That is so much easier said than done. So Colin Bowden having a career run right now. And I don't know, maybe with the TV finally being off, I think this is the first time ever there's not hockey or baseball or basketball on in the background. And he's putting it to good use right now. He's focused, and he's up into 8th.
Yeah, locked in. Again, he continues to be the leader on that alternate strategy. Keister 12th, Main 16th. The other drivers on the same tires as him. And again, plus 32 is currently double the next highest positions gained. 16 gained for Keister, who's on the exact same strategy as him. So it's been impressive stuff for Colin Bowden tonight. We'll see if he can translate it into a good finishing position. He's going to continue to try to march through the top 10. Next on deck, Femi Olontumbosin, the 14 to Seth the Merchant, just ahead of him. They're fighting with each other, which could open up the door for the 17 car. He's going to follow the 22 of Olontumbosin through on the bottom. A lot of contact that time as Zelensky came down on the 22 several times on the straightaway, and I think they might have touched again right there in the center of the corner. Why not 3 wide? Here goes Bowden to the inside.
I was about to say, I was surprised Bowden gave up the top, but right now the bottom is working for it. Pretty much anywhere is working for that 17 car right now. I know it says build submarines, but they have built a rocket here to bring to the Music City as he tries to send it in. It will be 3 wide. Gets just in front of Bobby Zelensky. You can see even Femi kind of reacting to it in the background. As again, Olontumbosin, a driver that could use this run to really change the outlook of his season, was up into the top 3 earlier, but I think kind of later in the run, that car starting to fade on him a little bit. But not for Colin Bowden, up to P7, fastest car on the racetrack, doing that while having to make these passes in traffic. Colin Bowden is just on an unreal tear right now.
And in the blink of an eye, we're almost halfway through this race. 3 wide, back with the 51 car in the center of it all. That's Donovan Strauss, sandwiched between the 41 of Dylan Duvall on the bottom and the 42 of Tyler Gary on the outside. This battle's going on for about 24th on back. 51 loses both spots. In front of him, Duvall and Gary come together as that 42 now going to try to sneak to the outside of the green Interstate Batteries Toyota of Daniel Falkenham on the bottom. That 88 car LaPrade at risk of being caught by this group of 6.
That they are. And again, we've just seen, again, uncharacteristic for Nashville that we've kind of seen this shift of comers and goers. Unfortunately for Strauss, who mentioned the damage for Derek Bordeaux earlier and kind of that stuffing that he had into the wall 3 wide. I think that's kind of what's ailed this car, is he's just kind of continued to fall back. He and the Williams Esports car earlier that we were talking about, Parker Whitewell's teammate's still up there. I think that showcases how fast that 51 could be. But some of the damage he had, it doesn't look visual. It doesn't look like he hit the wall too hard. But with this next-gen car, you've been to toe link or just hit it in the wrong spot. It's a durable car, but if you hit it in the wrong spot, it really hurts the setup. And I think, unfortunately, Strauss is just trying to battle through that right now.
Yeah, doing everything he can to stay in this, and we'll see how this one plays out. Again, all of a sudden, a long green flag stretch in this race. Still 3 wide. That 54 pushing up the hill just a little bit. I mean, this can make some of the drivers nervous up towards the front. How aggressive this group of 5 is. Again, top to bottom in the field, they are fighting hard no matter where they stand.
And again, this is kind of a point that, yes, we're nearing the halfway point. We did have that caution at lap 10. We've seen how much of a difference tires can make, but you lose a ton of time under green here at this racetrack. Not only is Nashville a really tough pit road to get on, not only is it slower than most pit roads that we go to, but you have to take the access road in 1 and 2. It's flat. It's a tight corner already on the racetrack. It's even tighter on the apron, so you lose a ton of time here. It's not 1.5 miles, it's 1.33 miles. So these drivers, you have to be really brave if you're going to come down and split it halfway. And Garrett Lowe, Bobby Zelensky, a couple of drivers that have a win in the bank. So doing this isn't necessarily as much of a risk for them. They're going to be the first takers.
So as the pit stops are underway, we'll check in with where Ryan Luza is in this race in the number 80 machine. Of course, we're in a special paint scheme this year, throwing it back to what we saw just a couple of weeks back with the Goodyear 400. But of course, he's got SeatGeek on that number 80 Ford Mustang in tonight's race, and excited to see SeatGeek on board that car. We've seen those colors a couple of times with him so far this year. We see you can expect the unexpected, and the 80 car is down pit road for service. Blake, this is, I think, maybe what we were expecting to see, right? Pit stops at the midway point. Just when those drivers who pitted early really reaping the benefits of that, they are not likely to be able to be enough off strategy to change things up, and right on cue, there's the aforementioned Colin Bowden.
Yeah, and I think you saw even out of Ryan Luza's front view is that everybody kind of has to react. Again, this is kind of like Charlotte in a way that you have to enter pit road kind of from the racing groove, and I believe Parker White pulling low here. He's indicating to Seth the Merchant that he's also going to come down and pit this time. Now, here's the other thing with the fact that you can go quite a distance here. Again, this cycle could continue to run for the next 20 some odd laps or so. And the fact that you have Garrett Maines, he came down, he pit at about that lap 11 or 12 caution. And if you can go about 70 laps on fuel here, he could stretch this for quite a while. He can go to maybe about 20 laps to go, or somewhere around that ballpark, depending on what the fuel mileage is that he's getting to continue to run out on the racetrack and try some strategy. As we see Wyatt Tinsley, oh well, actually, yeah, Jimmy and Wyatt both missed pit entry. That's so easy to do here at Nashville.
Easy is it as well, Blake? If you're that second car in line to kind of gauge how you're entering pit road off of the car in front of you, you think you just kind of got coaxed into it?
Oh, yeah, that's such an easy mistake to make. How often, if you're an iRacing member, you've done it before, you see a guy in front of you hit the wall off of turn 2, and you're like, haha, look at that idiot up there, they hit the wall, and then you follow them right into the wall. It's such an easy mistake to make when you're kind of trying to gauge off of that car in front of you.
There's going to be a lot of time lost for those cars who miss pit lane. We've only had maybe a little bit over a third of the field, though, come down and in. It is not a land rush to get all of this pit service completed, and a handful of laps as now Tyler Gary also down pit road in the 42 car. There could be some concern. Green flag pit cycles, especially those that stretch out over a bigger window, that you're going to have cars out there on different pace. Closing rates are going to be closed in. There's always a chance for an incident or a yellow during a pit cycle. That is kind of the risk that comes with the benefit of going for the short pit and getting the fresh tires sooner, is that a lot of the cars who have pitted already are going to be a lap down until this thing cycles through. Blake, would you let that kind of influence your strategy and maybe pit a little bit later than right off the get-go?
I think we've seen these races play out so much that it's not often we go all the way to the end green, right? So I think if you're the Merchant, Wilson doesn't really have anything to lose, but I don't really see a ton of risk in staying out this late, especially if you have clean air. If you're in a situation like Seth the Merchant is, you can afford to go maybe a couple laps further, and then when you do have fresh tires, it's going to be a lot easier to just pull right up on somebody and pass them rather than just barely having a tire advantage and maybe struggling to try to make a move by. So the Merchant, Wilson, Honeycutt, if you have a lot of clean air, it's definitely worth I think staying out and letting this play out for a couple more laps. This is an issue going into turn 3. We see Garrett Maines, Caden Honeycutt. This is in the top 5. Watch the 66 of Vicente Salas here, who is going to pit, and I don't think Maines was expecting that, and he just missed it. Excuse me, that was not Salas, that was Colin Keister. But that's one of the things about communicating. It's so important, and Maines did a great job there. I mean, he barely had any time to react to that. May have even gotten a little bit of left front damage out of that, but didn't hit him, didn't spin him, and that's so tough because, again, I'm sure he didn't have any warning or he didn't know that Keister was coming into pit there.
A couple different ways that things can be communicated. These drivers can talk to each other over an open radio channel. There's also a text chat that a lot of drivers have a hotkey preset to. Jordy Lopez put a couple different messages in succession, all caps, to let people know that he's coming down pit road. Seth the Merchant didn't catch his radio transmission, but he just said something over the radio that could indicate that the 14's coming down, and indeed he is. So drivers will choose to communicate that differently, but the Merchant is in. Again, we've yet to see a rookie get a race win so far this season. And after Minter as a rookie went all the way to the championship 4 last year, do we see another newcomer with an equal performance? The Merchant's in an okay spot tonight, but he's off and down pit road, and that will hand things off to the man who is no stranger to victory lane this season. It's 3-time race winner and defending champion Stephen Wilson in front for a moment.
Also have another couple of cars that are kind of joining him on this strategy. Nick Ottinger's not going to be joining him any longer. You can see him just from the purview of Taylor Hurst. He's going to come down and get some service for his number 25 Logitech Chevrolet. There's still quite a ways to go here in the midst of the cycle. Derek Bordeaux's still out on the racetrack, but now you can start to see the difference that fresh tires makes as Wilson staying out with the race lead. You look at the distance that Cozy, that Garrett Lowe, all these drivers are able to make up. And remember, Graham Boland, don't think he's going to be wanting to get by this 10 car as quickly as possible. You can remember what happened in the finish of this race 2 weeks ago between these two drivers.
Well, 20 cars have pitted, still waiting on the final 20 to come down pit road to be able to make it to the end. For the moment, it's Steven Wilson leading this race. The driver who may cycle through to the front could be Femi Olatunbosun. We'll keep an eye. Less than 40 to go at Nashville.
What does fearless look like? Like sliding through a glimmer of daylight?
Side by side for the top spot.
Like trading paint with a champion?
Oh, and he spins it.
Like starting in the back of the pack and stopping at nothing till everyone is choking on your dust?
Who gets it done? Time, baby.
What does fearless look like? Find out for yourself.
Let's go!
The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition. Make it your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Makoni.
We now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at McConeySetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at McConey Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Well, what do we have here?
He is back.
A come down or a comeback? A risk taker or a troublemaker? A lucky run, or that's how it's done.
Great job, 5 teams.
Surprise, surprise.
1, 2, 3, finish.
Or seen it coming.
Oh, yeah.
A trophy hunter or a party crasher?
Lennox steals one.
What if it was all that and a whole lot more?
Back live at Nashville, where coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola and Wendy's. Order your favorite driver's favorite freestyle drink tonight with the Wendy's app and get $0 delivery fee with a $15 minimum order with the in-app offer. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. By Makoni Setup Shop. Our setups, your victories. By Sunoco. From fueling your favorite NASCAR teams to filling up at the pump, Sunoco is trusted to help vehicles perform at their peak. Sunoco, performance is what we do. And by NASCAR Salutes. The NASCAR industry comes together to honor our heroes and celebrate patriotism by showing appreciation for active and retired service members. Visit NASCAR.com/salutes to learn more. We are inside of 30 laps to go from iRacing's virtual Nashville Superspeedway 11th race of this 2024 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Steven Wilson Blake continues to lead. Still waiting, though, on him and about 16 or 17 more to come down pit road.
Yeah, still a lot of drivers left to go to pit, and they're going to try to stretch this out. I think at this point, you're kind of beyond just trying to run this out regularly. You're maybe going to come down, take two, try something a little bit different, but at this point, you are locked into this strategy. But also want to give a shout out to so many folks who are consuming this race in a number of different ways here. Love 46, one of amongst 8 different sim racers and content creators that are alongside with us and watching this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race. And I want to thank eNASCAR for the initiative that they've done to bring all the eyes and the different viewers to this series. So Love 46, again, a longtime competitor on the road side of things here in iRacing as well, watching along, as well as 7 others that are bringing you coverage of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race. So fun stuff and a lot of different ways that you get to watch and not only hear us babble along, Evan, but some others that will have some different insight than what you and I can provide. But great to see, and you know, props to eNASCAR for allowing this initiative to come together.
Yeah, that's the moment I was waiting for, was the infinite window as soon as the delay caught up and that went up on the stream. But hey, got Daniel Gray as well, Matt Malone, Graham Pooh Bear did some stuff with Twitch, and he's a big fan of the service as well. So many, again, 8 total content creators, co-streamers of tonight's broadcast. So if you're joining us on the official stream, but also if you're joining us on any of their streams, we're happy to have you with us as a part of tonight's coverage. Getting down to the end with still a lot of question marks in this one to see who's going to take home what could be a season-changing win as the playoff picture continues to get more and more critical with each passing event. You see the purple flash up on the leaderboard there. Honeycutt, LaPrade, Alt, Old down pit road. Wilson drops down the leaderboard. Look for the purple in a moment as he comes to the pit road entry. And now we're starting to check off those remaining numbers. You can see the number of the last time those cars had pitted, Blake. So those 4 of those top 5, Hurst, Bias, Leahy, Busa, they had all pitted previously on that first yellow flag of the race. And now that Wilson is down and in, is there any opportunity for the cars who have already pitted once tonight to maybe try to stretch this out, or is, you know, that 12, 13 lap difference still just too much?
It's still going to be a little bit too much to overcome. I think at this point you're going to stay out. You still have about 10 seconds if you're Taylor Hurst, Cody Bias, Keegan Leahy, some of these cars that just weren't up to snuff and didn't quite have the competitiveness or speed or track position, any of those things to try and go out and win this race on speed. I don't blame them for trying this, but they're probably about 5-6 laps away or so from this kind of starting to equalize and put them in a position where they just can't make it. Again, a lot of shifting going on here tonight, and you could stretch it quite a distance, but 85, 90 laps, even that's probably just going to be a little bit too much for these cars to muster. But what I'm interested in seeing is kind of how this race has cycled out behind them. Parker White is kind of the leader of all of these cars that did pit, and you'll see Cody Bias kind of join everybody else. So just 3 cars in Hurst, Leahy, and Busa, I believe, that have not pit yet. But Parker White leapfrogged a ton of cars in the midst of his stop, and he has about a 9/10 of a second gap over Colin Bowden, who would be the second car right now on the racetrack of all the cars that have pit up to this point. So White maintaining a lead, and he may have kind of won the cycle. If anything, he took 2 tires. He didn't even take 4. It was a 9.5 second stop for White. It was 9.9 for Colin Bowden. So 2 tires each for Parker White and Colin Bowden. And it looks like it's paid dividends for them under green as they lead and continue to kind of pull away from everybody behind them.
And of course, Tucker Minter, worth noting, Blake, was the dominant car. He took 4. He's given the first car on 4 tires. Well, Taylor Hurst again getting an opportunity to lead some laps. That Team Dillon Esports machine, of course, owned by NASCAR Cup Series driver Austin Dillon. Some of the one of the many names that has real-world NASCAR ties in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series ownership group. So Taylor Hurst leading for the moment, waiting on him, Leahy, and Busa to come down pit road. And again, that battle for 3rd on your leaderboard right now is the battle that will be for the win. White and Minter, 2 tire decisions but I should say White with a 2-tire decision, and then Minter with the 4. Tucker Minter has passed Colin Bowden. That might imply that 97, Blake, with the slightly better tires, is going to start chipping away at that advantage for White. So I think these top 3 who have yet to pit excluded, we still have a great battle for the race win on our hands.
That we do, and right now Tucker Minter, who again has been on slightly of a longer run right now than even Parker White. Again, this was kind of the difference is Tucker Minter came down, he took 4 tires. He actually has 2-lap older tires than who he's chasing up the road in Parker White, but he's been using those 4 tires to his advantage and slowly been kind of eating away at that gap. It's about half a second between White and Minter, who would cycle up to the lead should we not get a caution flag. But still, Taylor Hurst, Keegan Leahy, they still go for a while. But you can hear Keegan Leahy not saving any fuel. He's not clutching. He's not shutting the motor off. This is purely if we get a caution within the next 6 or 7 laps or so, that's all I could ask for. But right now, that you're just praying something happens. There's a lot of racing going on all over this track. And that's just the way these things tend to work out, Evan, is that these races never usually seem to quite go all the way green with it working out. So I don't blame the move here by Hurst or Leahy, who are well back in the field.
We were just talking about the Team Dillon entry and those real-world ties. Of course, Leahy's car with 2311 Racing, driving for the team that is co-owned by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. But this team in this series predates 2311. Once upon a time was Denny Hamlin Racing in this series. Before, of course, they had that formal commitment to the Cup Series and rebranded under the 2311 banner. So a lot of tie-ins here in eNASCAR and the folks over in the NASCAR Cup Series with Denny Hamlin as part of the ownership group for this virtual car. He got a race winner earlier this year at Las Vegas, really needing to catch a yellow here. He needs points for his race win to count towards playoff eligibility. That is the biggest thing for him. And I'm not going to say that we got to throw the flags out now, but Parker White has been caught by Tucker Minter. Last lap for White, 31.247, but it was a 31.075 for Minter. The 97 has been far better, and a pass for what may become the race win, I think, is not that far away.
No, it's not. Again, Bowden, as you can see, the gap in front of him, you can hardly see the 97. He's lost track, but Minter trying to make what could be a pass for the race win up in front of them. Minter's got a little bit of a run. He's going to peek down to the inside, and let's see how close White tries to race him right now. Not putting up much of a fight. Minter going to go down to the bottom. Does White try to cross him over? He may try to, but it's not going to work out. Parker White to the lead. Taylor Hurst now down to the pit lane. So this is the battle for second. It's just Keegan Leahy who has yet to make his stop.
And Leahy came over the radio, said he's coming in this time. So as Tucker Minter in the 97 has taken back the number 2 spot on track, Leahy will bow out of this strategy ploy. You jump on board with his Logitech car, not to get those Logitech blues confused between Leahy and Minter. That is Leahy down to pit road. Minter comes off at turn 4. He now takes over the race lead and is 13 laps away from a race win.
This is going to be tough for Parker White. Again, Tucker Minter utilizing 4 tires. He's going to lose a little bit of that clean air that he was enjoying, kind of being the leader of this strategy for a very long time. So he's really going to have to muster something here. Unless he was saving, Tucker Minter catches him and he was leaving something in the tank. It's going to be really difficult to try and keep up here. Does have a little bit of the draft, but at this point, Tucker Minter is in a fantastic position right now.
Both these cars are as well in the standings, right? I mean, if you take the playoff seeded standings out of it, Parker White is second in the points. Minter is 7th. There will be some, we think, points paying positions into the postseason, but it's never a guarantee with all the variables, and that's why the win is so important. But it has been a great last month and a half for Tucker Minter. Led the most laps at Dover, but didn't get to victory lane. Started on pole at Charlotte a couple of weeks ago, so he has been up and in the conversation for much of it, and again, has a real shot to points his way into the playoffs, but a race win here tonight would make that a no doubt abouter. That's what he's hoping to do. This battle about 2 seconds off of the race leader, Femi Olatounbosun, and the 30 to Michael Cozy Jr. fighting for P5 and 6. Both of these cars on different strategies. Femi took 2 on pit road, Cozy took 4, and now you see the 4 tires for Cozy giving him the upper hand.
And again, both of these drivers, Olatounbosun needs these points to get close to the top 20, and Cozy could really use this to solidify his spot in the top 20. And some of these drivers, you got to think beyond the postseason that, yes, a win could definitely change their season, but you don't want to throw points entirely out the window. Once the playoffs start, you're still going to have 30 cars out here who aren't a part of them. As you can see, Taylor Hurst going on by. Again, he lost a ton of time staying out as long as he did. So a lap down and trying to get his way back on the lead lap, I'm sure, in these last couple of circuits. But you got to also think points as well. If you're some of these drivers, there's going to be 10 playoff drivers, and the rest are trying to stay up in that top 20 so they don't have to worry about going down to the Contender Series in the fall to keep their spot in 2025.
And you know that we couldn't go to a major American city and not talk about a special paint scheme on a Sudoku car. It's Kwame Scott tonight, not having the night he was hoping for, 38th at the moment, but a great-looking neon-inspired 36 Sudoku Chevrolet representing the lights of Broadway at night here at the Nashville Superspeedway. It's been a tough year for the Letard Esports Group, and again, a tough night for Kwame tonight, but Sudoku always so involved as a partner in these events and a partner of these teams, and it's good to see those colors on that car tonight as we jump back up now towards the front of the field and see those continuous charges through the field. Kwame, in fact, just behind it. Watch it on, and that's Michael Cozy Jr. and Colin Bowden for P4.
Again, look to be a good call to get track position in those 2 tire efforts, but I think it's just a little bit too much to overcome that once we get a run that's long enough. If this continues to play out, 4 tires may indeed be the way to go, but not going to lose a ton. Again, Colin Bowden started last. If he has better track position, I think there's no doubt about it. He wins this race. His car has been that fast throughout the running of this race. So props to him. May not end in victory lane like I'm sure he would have wanted, but nevertheless, a fantastic effort. And I think a race that Michael Cozy Jr. could really use as well. Has had a lot of bad luck, been fighting through that throughout the course of this year. But this race, I don't think we'll see Cozy go to victory lane at Chicago. Probably going to be Parker White, Bobby Zielinski, a number of those road course ringers. But when we kind of move beyond that in the last couple of races going into the postseason, this gives Cozy as well as Olatounbosun and a couple of drivers a shot that if they go to Indy or Pocono and score a win, it would be indeed to compete for a championship.
Yeah, and banking points is big for Cozy, right? Maybe anticipating not going to have a great time at Chicago in terms of competing for a win because he came into tonight on that P20 cut line. Banking a lot of points tonight could mean that he's in a position to be race win playoff eligible. Again, you look at those live playoff points, Cozy P20 at the moment, that 38 way at the bottom. You got to be top 20 to win, and you're in. And again, with that 97 leading this race at the moment, that tentatively leaves only 2 spots in on points. Again, the 7 Malik Ray still showed on there, Blake. He's in a dangerous position, so it could expand back to 3. It could shrink to 2, but that's why Parker White, I mentioned, non-playoff points. He's having a great year. He's P2. But with 3 races left after tonight's race, if you're only going to have 2 spots available on points and 3 rounds left, that's not a situation I want to be in if I'm Parker White sitting in second.
But again, a great rebound effort. We talked about Malik Ray. He hasn't gotten a caution since he kind of had to miss the spinning Derek Bordeaux. He's up into the 24th position. So you talk about efforts that can save your season. That's certainly been one of them for Malik Ray. Again, may not be in the top 20 when all is said and done here in this race, but he's at least going to give himself a fighting chance. But up front, Tucker Minter enjoys about a half-second lead. Keegan Leahy, the lap car will probably go by him. This is a battle for position, though. Top 3, Vicente Salas, Michael Cozy Jr. Again, talked about a yellow could completely change the complexion of this race. We want to fight for 3rd, but we talked about how points are very important for Cozy. Not so much for Vicente Salas, so he can afford to be a little bit aggressive here as we get to the white flag. It's official. And it looks like we're going to be able to do that.
Oh, beating and banging to the line. White flag in the air. This race is official. Why not go 4 wide in a battle for third? Can these cars all make it around to the final time this race? Salas on the outside. Look on the bottom. Seth DeMerchant. 3 for 1. Bowden gets spit out of line. They're giving it everything they can for the third step on the podium, as out in front, Tucker Minter going back to the playoffs for a second year in a row. He wins at Nashville.
DeMerchant gets third.
Slump for the rookie driver Blake, a 3-time race winner last season, who made it all the way to the championship 4 as a rookie and has not skipped a beat. He looks to go back and fight again here in 2024.
Well, again, I think we mentioned it over the number of times that we've talked to Tucker. Again, he leads the series in top 5s. Is that this has been a long time coming for him. You put yourself in position enough times, you're eventually going to find your way to victory lane. He had the speed, he had the execution, and he finally gets it done.
This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Tucker Minter with his 4th career win in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. For a sophomore, that's not bad. That ties him with some of the names like Richard Towler, John Gorlinski, and others who have been able to capture 4 wins in their eNASCAR careers. And Minter will go back to the playoffs for a 2nd consecutive season behind the wheel, this time with that 97 machine. And he's really feeling this one. You saw it on the camera across the start-finish line. Tucker's going to get his money's worth here on the celebration. Well, let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race. And much like a Conn Smythe that doesn't have to go to the winning team, who said the move of the race had to come from the race winner. Tucker Minter was ahead of all of this, Blake, and we went 4 wide in the battle for third.
Well, again, props to all these drivers who making it out the other end. Again, this could have been a bad position for all of them. But you see Seth DeMerchant, we saw how late he pit, so he's got some very fresh tires, and he looks to make it low, goes 4 wide to the bottom, and that's going to be enough that despite the fact that he can push up, Bowden pushes up from the 2nd lane, DeMerchant uses those tires to his advantage, and didn't think we'd be talking about 4 wide a ton. You can see Bowden squeezes up into Cozy and Salas, and again, it was, at least out of this battle, DeMerchant that gets 3rd. Cozy just is able to get enough to beat Vicente Salas to the line for 4th. But what a battle between all those drivers. They live to see another lap. They get to the end, and Seth DeMerchant, we get to talk to him because of it on the Sunoco post-race report.
Yeah, most impressive, just all 4 of those cars made it. With the way things were looking headed off and into turn number 1, wasn't quite sure that that was going to be a guarantee in this one. And DeMerchant, again, the big winner in all of that because he went to the very inside of it. He was back in 6th coming to the white flag, and instead does end up with that 3rd step on the podium, as we will head down and talk with a lot of your top finishers on the night. Blake, I'll hand things off to you for the Sunoco post-race report.
Well, we have talked to this driver a number of times here in 2024, but Tucker, what was it more when you crossed the line? Was it joy or relief? Because it looked like there was a good mixture of both there.
Man, it's definitely relief. You know, we've been so close all season long, and just haven't had the luck, I guess, in some ways. And then, you know, with how the playoff picture is, it was so tight, you know, sweating that. So it just feels really relieving going into the Chicago street course next week, racing from the Navy Pier. I don't have to worry about my playoff point standings.
Yeah, now you get to go there, race live, and have fun. I know you got an experience of that, battling for a championship last year. But with now just 3 races left to go, you're in a great points position at this point. And not that you're locked into the postseason, but you'd have to do a lot to miss it at this point. Does this kind of shift your focus where, yes, you could go out to Chicago and have fun, but you really start to narrow in on, okay, well, what's our car look like for Michigan, Texas, Phoenix, some of these races that are coming up in the playoffs? Is that your main focus now?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We still want to do the best we can, with segment 3 going on, trying to win that, get the playoff points from that, and trying to get more playoff points just in case we don't win during the playoffs to be able to, have a good seeding there. But it definitely is nice to start thinking about the playoffs now and not thinking about the sand in the hourglass running out in the regular season.
Now you also are lucky enough to represent William Byron here. We got the William Byron Bracket Challenge coming up these next couple races. I know the playoffs may not be a worry, but you do have a bracket challenge to try to contend for these next couple races. You got a little bit of a sales pitch here for some of these drivers to perhaps favor you to make it all the way to the end?
Yeah, I mean, the William Byron Bracket Challenge, make sure you enter that. It opens this week ahead of Tuesday's race at Chicago. You can win some really cool Logitech gear. We just got these fresh new jerseys. Looking forward to repping at Chicago. And then, before we close here, I just want to say I want to shout out my Aunt Nancy. It's good to have her doing a little bit better on the health front, and dedicate this to my grandmother that we lost in November. But just really appreciate you guys. Really appreciate William Byron Esports, everything they do for us. Everybody on the Altanda and that, and everything they do for us. It's unbelievable to win the first green flag Coke race in, I think, 3 years or so.
All right, Tucker. Well, congratulations. We know you got the speed. We'll let you celebrate it, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again like we have many times here on the Sunoco Post-Race Report.
Thanks, Blake. Yeah, I look forward to see you guys.
Tucker Minter gets win number 1 of the season. But it is multiple on the career for the sophomore driver as we move forward to another sophomore driver here in Parker White, second in the standings, and yet again another second-place effort tonight. But Parker, I'm sure these couple of finishes you've been putting together has got to build up some momentum, and I know the Chicago Street Course is one. You think with all this momentum you have a shot to go in there and win that race next week?
Honestly, I'm not really sure with the format we have, the invert 8. I feel like I did everything I could do at Brands Hatch. I got the pole, but just with the way the format is, it was basically impossible to get to the lead. So it really just depends on where I qualify. If I somehow happen to qualify 8, I think I'll have a very good shot. But for a few minutes there in this race, I thought it was going to be mine because I came out of the pits there. I pit 2 laps after Tucker. I took 2 tires, so that's how I got way out there. And I was like a 10th lap quicker than Tucker, so I thought for sure that our long run pace was going to be quite good. We had a mock race with all of us at NFR last night, and that seemed to be the play, was just to take 2 on the green flag stop. It got you track position, and really in this series, it's all you need. So it's a really good strategy. I think it was a net gain for me. If I would have taken 4, and if I would have put that same lap, I would have been way further back. I think my pit stop would have been like 5 seconds slower or something. So that would have put me like somewhere around P10, probably around like P8 or something. But yeah, all in all, I think I maximized my race. It's definitely a bit disappointing to come up that short again. But like I said, I really don't think there's anything I could have done there to contest with Tucker. He did a very good job there, that last green flag run, so congrats to him.
And Parker, before I let you go, I got to ask you one more question. You got a lot of chairs set up in that room. Is this kind of what's the multi-purposes that you got set up here? Because it looks like it's more than just sim racing that's going on.
Yeah, so the chair with a Coca-Cola hat, that's my flight sim. I want to be an airline pilot, so that's what I use to try to just kind of keep current on my flying. I also do a lot of just flight sim just casually, but yeah, I'm a big sim guy. So as you can see here, obviously, iRacing, and then on my free time I do flight sim.
All right, so that's one chair. What about the others?
The gaming chair back there, my TV, you can't see it, but it's in the corner. I'll just use that to watch TV, like NASCAR races and stuff like that.
All right. Awesome. Well, and maybe take a nap on the couch back there, too. It looks to be pretty handy.
Yeah, it's a bit messy now, but yeah, definitely.
All right, Parker. I know we'll be talking to you soon. You're knocking on the door. That win is going to come soon, and who knows, maybe it could come in Chicago next week or these next couple of races. But a second in points, great run for you tonight.
Thank you. I'll see you later.
Also, a note to make is that if Parker White were to win the regular season championship, that could also be an automatic berth into the postseason if he were to overtake Steven Wilson. He had a 30-point deficit coming into this race. But we move on to Seth the Merchant on the Sunoco post-race report. First time we've been able to talk to you. And, man, talk about that move that you made there on the last lap, 4 wide. That was some crazy stuff when you had that tire advantage.
Yeah, I mean, we got to them just right at the right time, and they started adoring each other, and I was just trying to pick and choose when I got my run, and then when Colin went 3 wide, I was surprised he didn't go to the apron, so I shot apron and went into turn 1, and everybody was over it in super deep trying to beat each other, and I think my tires just was able to prevail through the center, and I was able to clear off, and it was pretty wild, entering 4 wide on the inside into turn 1 and somehow coming out first, but really happy because I didn't think my strategy was going to play out when we got 10 laps to go into the race, and I felt like I was farther back than I was going to be, kind of doing the middle strategy of everybody. But right at the end, it paid off, and maybe if I just got through the lap traffic just a little bit quicker, I could have got caught up to Tucker and them. But really happy to get third. Really cool.
I know FGR Excel, the Altus boys, they've been working really hard. As far as these next couple of tracks, this puts you in position that a win could get you into the playoffs. What are these next few tracks out of Chicago, Indy, and Pocono do perhaps you have circled that maybe you could go get the job done there?
I don't know about Chicago. I'm not the best road courser, but after Brands Hatch, I ran better than I was expecting. So kind of just hoping to go into Chicago and try to fight for a top 10, stay alive in the points, and then go to Indy and see if we can win. I'm pretty good there, and it's going to be a draft track pretty much with the way the draft is. So it's almost going to be like a pack race, and anybody
You're
has
pretty good at that.
Yeah, it comes down to qualifying. I just finally qualified good for once tonight, and it showed in the results.
All right, Seth. Well, I know you're proud of the effort. We'll let you enjoy it. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, Blake. And real quick, I just want to say thanks to Next Level Racing. They came on, and it's really cool.
All right, Seth, appreciate it, and appreciate all 3 of our drivers talking with us here on the Sunoco post-race report.
Thanks, Blake.
Take a look now at tonight's full race results here from the Nashville Superspeedway. Of course, the race win goes to Tucker Minter. Parker White gets second. It is an ever-shrinking points window into the playoffs for your runner-up tonight. But, Blake, to your point, a regular season championship could change all that. And tonight, at least a step in the right direction for that. DeMerchant third, again ahead of that battle with Cozy, Salas, and Abound, and it was great stuff from that group. Steven Wilson led 15. He settles for P10.
A lot of great stories up here in the top 10. Colin Bowden being one of them. Garrett Lowe drove up through the field. How about Jordy Lopez? A very solid run that he needed. Ryan Doucette, another driver that was a hard charger throughout the race, started, I think, 35th, if I remember correctly, ends up in the 16th spot. Garrett Baines, great recovery. He spins, he hits the wall early. 17th is a good rally for him and that team.
And Malik Ray gets an okay point share tonight that I think keeps him in the top 20 in points and keeps his race win in an active spot on the playoff grid. Could have been a little bit more for him. Matthew Zawak as well, P26 there for the rookie driver, third highest. Of course, DeMerchant, the best of them all, up in third. And then Wyatt Tinsley, who's already a race winner again this year, he ends up 28th.
Yeah, again, he's a driver that's going to be close when you talk about points and whether that win is going to count. And then you see a bunch of drivers here, especially those who stayed out really late, and Taylor Hurst and Keegan Leahy didn't quite get the caution that they would have needed to try and compete in this one.
Well, of course, the tour of former All-Star Race venues continues when we head to the streets of Chicago next week. 2 years ago, Steven Wilson won it as the playoff race, or a All-Star race, I should say, but it is Bobby Zelensky who took home the points race win a year ago, Blake. And not only is it another road course opportunity for somebody else to sneak it and get a win, but 4 of our eNASCAR drivers will be competing live on site at the Navy Pier downtown.
Well, and again, I think that's going to be a big storyline going into this race, that the fact it's a road course, it's going to test them because this is a really difficult track to try and get around, and the fact that now you throw them in an entirely different element, and you have drivers like Garrett Baines and some others that were going to be there, Nick Ottinger, who are looking to finally break through for that win and to change their season, especially Nick Ottinger. The points window is so narrow, and yet he's got to come here with 3 races left of the regular season, going to be live in front of an audience, and have to get the job done. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, there's the nerves bit of it. There's also, again, the fact that it's a different sim rig. We always use that as the talking point with those live events for the finale at the NASCAR Hall. Same storylines going to apply when we go racing next week in Chicago. But until then, that is it for us here tonight from Nashville. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, eNASCAR, for everybody behind the scenes, and for your broadcast team tonight as well. For Blake McCandless, my name is Evan Pasoko. I want to say thanks for tuning in, and congratulations to Tucker Minter, who's going back to the playoffs for a 2nd year in a row. Things are heating up on the road to $500,000, and you don't have to wait, because we're back next week for round number 12 at iRacing's virtual Chicago Street Course. That race and every race of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively right here on iRacing Live and streaming at eNASCAR.com. Until next time, good night from the Music City.